Many hits and hardly any misses. That's Raghuram Rajan, the governor at RBI for you. In his one-year stint as the RBI governor, the man who made a seamless move from North Block to Mint Street has lived up to the expectations and has brought in big bang changes. Be it a complete overhaul of the banking system itself or his relentless fight against inflation, there has possibly never been a dull moment with Raghuram Rajan in office.
The headline-grabbing shift to on-tap bank licensing and pegging retail inflation is the focus for monetary policy. The new approach was clearly visible. He started off by freeing up branch licensing and ushered in new financial intermediaries like payment banks and small banks. As he found his feet at Mint Street, taking on politicians and crony capitalists. The Rajan era at Mint Street is off to a big start, and that is our big story tonight.
Governorship of the central bank is not meant to win one votes or Facebook likes. But I hope to do the right thing, no matter what the criticism.
He took charge at a time when the economy was in doldrums, reserves were shrinking and the rupee was in a free fall. And a highly volatile market only added fuel to the fire. Certainly the expectations were riding sky high on the rock star economist. And 1 year on, Governor Raghuram Rajan seems to have done most things right. Rajan started off in style, announcing his famous five-pillar approach to reform the financial sector, including reworking the monetary policy framework, reforming the banking system, liberalizing the forex and bond markets, expanding financial inclusion, and improving how banks deal with asset quality issues.
I'm pretty optimistic that the measures we've announced and we will continue announcing are the right way to go. Of course, on distress, we already announced a set of actions which will try and allow for dealing with corporate distress outside of the bankruptcy system.
Rajan made arguably the biggest departure from the central bank's age-old practices by instituting consumer inflation as the anchor to decide rate actions going forward, setting a stiff target of 8% CPI inflation by January 2015 and 6% by January 2016. That's earned him the tag of India's inflation warrior, though he doesn't fully agree with it.
To argue that we're only focused on inflation and there's nothing else we're doing is, I think, a mischaracterization. Let's fight this fight once, finish it, and then move on.
Not one to shy away from taking risks, Rajan has made a number of bold moves. But it's his move to have a second in command at Mint Street, a COO in the rank of a deputy governor, that drew flack from RBI unions as well as the government. Rajan may have lived up to most expectations in his first year, but with global uncertainty mounting and inflation showing no signs of cooling, his biggest test may be yet to come. With Anirudh Ghosh, Simran Gill, ET Now, Mumbai.
Let's get you a word in then from someone who's worked rather closely with Raghuram Rajan while he was at the IMF. Jahangir Aziz of JP Morgan, who told us that Rajan's proposal to reform banks, he believes, has been a game changer.
I think the beginnings were, almost baptism by fire, and I think having known him for a while when we were in the IMF together, I think he wouldn't have probably wanted it any other way. I think he really enjoyed the fact that it was indeed baptism by fire. And I think that what he did in the first few months may have raised a bunch of eyebrows, subsidizing banks to get non-residents to bring money in such that, India's balance of payments crisis averted, wasn't really a very kosher thing to do. But I think that it was done, it was effective. He has actually taken over the role of being the one institution in this country that is that remains unconnected with the politics, etc. of the country. And first time ever, we have a Reserve Bank of India finally, who essentially is implementing an inflation targeting framework without running into all the problems of formalizing it and amending the Central Banking Act, etc., etc., etc. So I would say both on the banking system reforms that he is proposing and he's pushing, but definitely on adopting this informal inflation targeting system, I think I would seriously rate him as being, having done a very successful first year in office.
So has RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan measured up to the sky-high expectations that greeted his appointment as the 23rd governor on Mint Street? More importantly, what are the challenges that face in the remaining 2 years of his tenure, which is almost two-thirds of his innings, at least in the first go?
Well, 18 hours, Maithili Busnurmat caught up with former RBI Deputy Governor K.C. Chakrabarti as well as Anantha Nageswaran, who is a Singapore-based independent consultant, and asked them to rate Rajan's tenure so far. Here's an excerpt of our special show, Macros with Maithili.
Pedigree-wise, Dr. Rajan was the best person to join as Governor Reserve Bank of India. Our system is feudal, and if you see the Reserve Bank Act, here everything is attributed to Governor. In fact, I may tell you that here all decision-making process, even it is not attributable to the board, it is attributed to the Governor. So whether you agree or you disagree, whether you like or not like, whatever happens in the Reserve Bank of India, it is attributed to Governor Reserve Bank of India. Yes, other people play a supportive role, other people play a consultative role, other people play an advisory role, but the buck stops at Reserve Bank Governor. That is how the structure of the Reserve Bank has been there for the last 75-76 years, and still it has not undergone a change. So I will say that for Reserve Bank, everything is applied to Reserve Bank Governor. Our governors, deputy governors have no say, even they have no voting powers.
Dr. Chakrabarti, RBI has three broad areas of responsibility as I see it: price stability, growth, financial stability and bank supervision, other than of course other areas like banker to the government, financial sector development, etc. How would you rate the governor's performance under each of these three broad heads in the past 1 year?
If it is rate 1 to 10, you see, as I say, that we should have controlled the inflation much earlier. To that extent, we have some role to lower down the growth. That's absolutely no doubt in that. I will say that Reserve Bank score is here 5. Last 1 year, I will be definitely giving that it is 8 mark. System is quite stable, but here I have a problem. If the economy is not doing well, and still our financial system is quite strong and stable, that means we are living under financial repression. So financial stability, I will give the full mark, but then we are creating instability within that. In future, if we are not able to remove the financial repression, financial exclusion, we have a big problem. But stability-wise, I will definitely give 9.5 mark, because system has been quite stable.
Anand, what about your ratings under these three broad heads?
Yeah, I think when it comes to inflation management and exchange rates, I would give quite high marks to the RBI under the governor's leadership. It could be as high as 8 or 9 out of 10. And financial stability, it has not been fully tested. The banking sector, bad loans performance still continues. And I think at least there are signs that the Reserve Bank and the banking sector are coming to grips with it. But there also we have to admit that RBI may not have too many degrees of freedom, given that the predominant shareholder is the government of India, and that lends itself to political interference. So overall, I would think his leadership under the dimensions that you mentioned, I think carries a very high mark.
And looks like central bankers are grabbing headlines today in the big international story. And what's really taken a good part of the market by surprise, the European Central Bank is...